Vishnupriya, we are on live right now. We can start.
Good evening, everyone. I am Vishnupriya Acharya, an alumni at Rockwood's International School. So today, I think during my 11th and 12th grade here, I've been doing a lot of extracurricular activities and this and that. And that was because my dream has always been to go and study abroad, as in go apply properly and then build up my profile so that I can go and study abroad. And for that, but throughout the process, I've understood how difficult it is to build your profile, how difficult it is to do like go through the application process and this and that. And right now, I have applied to universities and I am expecting results from them. So till that, I thought, why not we can share some of our experiences and tips on how to go through this application process. And I have my friend Vedasri also here.
Good evening, everyone. I'm Vedasri, and nice to meet you guys all. And today I am with Vishnupriya, and today we both are here to discuss about the journey for a student to apply or to just select a university, and we're here to help you guys. And I myself, I am a student who applied for a college in US, got accepted, and we're waiting for our board results and to just continue with the process. As my friend just mentioned, that it might be a very stressful process. So I hope that today's webinar is all about us answering your doubts, or us introducing to a lot more easier methods in order in the process of going to abroad and education in abroad in general. And if anybody has questions, please feel free to just put it in the chat so that we can just answer it at the end of the webinar. Presentation.
Next slide, Vishnupriya.
Okay. So I think, as I mentioned, today's webinar is going to be about answering all the questions related to, what's the education in US or abroad looks like, or, depending on the subject a student is interested, what kind of universities you have to select, or, what is the difference between the undergraduation in India or the undergraduation education in US or abroad. So today we're going to discuss about all these questions and answer it hopefully at the end of this webinar. So traditional education system is mostly famous around in India for the IIT or for MBBS, right? And most of the universities focus on this aspect, and many universities are very famous for it. But the thing is that not every student at this point doesn't want to become an engineer or a doctor, because there are a lot of other careers which are like at the rise right now. One of it being jobs related to AI or jobs related to psychology, and many other jobs are at the rise right now. And I feel like students who are interested in those subjects will also get a good education if it were in abroad, because uh, STEM based education is most famous in India, but I think overall education system for any other courses can be it's very strong in US or in abroad comparatively to India. And of course there are some colleges who are trying to inculcate these other courses into them, but they're necessarily not that best at doing what they do. And universities in foreign, they are already experts in what they do in their education system in case of the government helping students find jobs. And I think it's very beneficial in, if it weren't for a STEM based job or education a student wants, I think foreign, going abroad is a very best option for the students who want to try out something new out of the traditional system of education. And because generally, if we look at what happens in India, a student who is doing undergraduation has his own schedule, and then homework, and then schedule, wake up morning and just do the same thing. But I don't think it's the same thing going in abroad, because a student has his or her own life, and they do also have their uh, working space, or their study. So like the work or the education life uh, and the personal life of a student is very balanced, but that's generally not found in what Indian universities or colleges that we have here. And we have actually what, less than 20 liberal colleges in India. I mean, for the audience who don't know what liberal means, liberal colleges allow us to have a different options of courses to study. Because for example, if I want to become a fashion designer, for example, then I would only get choose subjects that are related to fashion. But in liberal colleges, the thing is that if I'm still want to do a fashion designing course, I can still choose music as one of my subject. Very interesting, right? So liberal colleges allow students to learn what they're interested in, maybe try something different like subjects. Because if I had to take business studies and take computed mathematics, I can become a business analyst. But that doesn't happen in Indian education system, which happens very often in abroad. So I think these are one very important difference between what's the education system in India and the education system in abroad. And I would like my friend to continue, take the topic over.
So now, till now, what we heard was basically why you should be going to foreign universities, or what is different in foreign universities, and like what is the difference between foreign universities and Indian universities. Right now, what I'm going to talk about is the application process, and how generally, if a kid wants to go to a foreign university, what kind of steps do you have to take, and this and that. So first, we have to do the basics, obviously, which is deciding your field of study. So in today's session, we'll be focusing mostly on US universities, because that is, I think, the most convenient place, like the most chosen place to go for undergraduate majors. So for any university, first you have to decide what kind of major you want to take, or what kind of subject you want to study. And for that, it is going to be very complicated in a way, because there are lots of options. So even if you are not decided on something yet, it is suggested that you find something specific, like at least an entire area in which you want to study. Like say if you want to go for the science field, STEM, then you go, like if you're not sure what to do exactly in STEM, but you know that you want to do something in science, then you take science. That kind of, at least if you're decided on that, it's going to make things easier. And then you start looking for universities which are offering that kind of field of study, or that area of study, which are known for those kind of subjects. Because there are some institutes which are like very good in science, but they are not good for social studies. So a social studies student is better off in a university that like teaches social studies, like that is good in social studies, instead of something that is good in science. And then you start researching about those universities, and then when you start researching, you understand, oh, this university is going to be good for me. Because foreign universities, they'll have this all-rounder thing, like they have this all-rounder mindset. So they try to look at what sport you're playing in, what extracurricular activities you're doing, what kind of study pattern you're having, and all of that. So for that, you need to find universities which are a good fit for you, I may be going to some university, but even though if me and Veda have the same kind of subject, like if we chose the same subject and we go for the same university, there might be chances that I will fit into that university, but Veda will not fit into that university because that is not according to her other tastes or her something. And the same might happen with Veda, that she might get into some university, but I might not, because there is a difference in both of us. So that's why it is very, very crucial to find a good university for yourself. And then you select those universities, you select about 20 universities together so that you can apply, and then you start applying. So how do you apply? Because if you select too many, see, there is a lot of competition. And if you want to overcome that, and you can't just apply to one university and then have that confidence that I'll get it. Having confidence is good, but being confident enough to say that, oh, I'm going to get in only if I apply to one university, that is not confidence, that is overconfidence. So what we have to do is we have to apply to multiple universities, and then because they have very, very low acceptance rates, and when we apply to multiple universities we have more chance, but that is a very tedious process. So what can you do to make your paperwork less, reduce your burden, make the job less tedious? You have to just go to Common App. So Common App is an app where you can create an application which is basically, it goes out everywhere. So the Common App is a place where you can collect together all your application material, and then you send the same application to 20 different universities at the maximum. So what this is, it is for United States universities only, and it is a common application. So I give my personal details, I give my family details, my education details, and then I do a few important things which every university requires. All of that I put in one single application on that app or on that website, and then I submit it to all universities at the same time. What happens is my burden is reduced, and it is easier for me to track which university I am at what stage and what kind of application is going on over there, here, like that. So Common App has certain components. Those are profile, family, education, testing, activities, and writing. Profile is basically where you talk about yourself. Talk about as in you give details about yourself. So your age, your address, your name, your family details. Family details as in your history, where you were born, where did you go to school, all of that. And then when you go to family, you talk about your family. So in family, it is you talking about your parents, what have they done, basically. So it asks about your parents' names, your parents' occupation, your parents' education, all of that. Then it asks about your siblings, your grandparents, whoever it is in your family. It just needs the entire family's detail. Then it asks about education. Where have you studied so far? Why did you not study? If you are a gap year student, why have you taken a gap year? All kinds of questions. What subjects have you taken? What have been your grades, and all of that? That comes in your education section. Then moving on to testing, there are certain tests conducted for scholarships, and also in general to understand if the child is capable or not. Those are SAT and ACT. So SAT and ACT are standardized tests in the US, which students give, and then they get good scores and all of that. And so for that, it was until recently required as a compulsory requirement for universities to get a student standardized test scores. But right now, because of COVID and after COVID, most of the universities have gone test optional. That doesn't mean that you don't submit tests like test scores. You do have to submit them. Like, it is better if you submit them. You have more. The more you build up your profile, the more you show on Common App. That is how much chance you have. So taking the test and showing it is better. And then you go to the activities section. Under the activities section, you talk about 10 activities. You have space for 10 activities, and you can show what kind of activities you have done throughout 9th, 10th, 11th, and 12th grades. And these activities just show how much you have been involved outside of academics, because that is what US universities look for. They look for a holistic, all-rounded application. So even in the education system, there is an important point I want to talk about, that is honors. Honors are basically your achievements. You have space for 5 honors, and we recommend filling every single space of honors, every single space of activities. Wherever you find space on the Common App, you should be filling it, because that is your best bet at getting in a university, because it is tough, obviously. But coming back to activities, it is just how many extracurricular activities you are doing, whether it is sports or it is the student government, or if it is into some committees in the school, some clubs or some outside activities like volunteering, teaching, all of that, anything. And then you come to the last section, which is writing. So in our application, there is something called the statement of purpose or your personal essay. That is basically the essay of your life so far, or what you want to achieve in the future. It is just you talking about something which is meaningful to you. So the writing section has a essay which is around 650 words. The word limit is 650 words, and you have certain prompts or questions which basically are the same thing. They just ask you to write about yourself or about anything that you care about, all of that. And when you write that, it just shows what kind of a person you are, what kind of character build up you have, and all of that. So writing section is also very, very important. Every section on the Common App is important. You we it is so important to even do the profile section. Like, it is so important to make sure that your profile section is right, because there are sometimes when you do a mistake of even putting an extra full stop, and that is what universities look at. Like, they look, the admissions officer sitting there, he can clearly notice that, oh, this mistake has happened. So we try to avoid the small mistakes. And then moving on to standardized testing in the United States, like I said, there are two tests, SAT and ACT. SAT has a scoring on scale of 400 to 1600. It has, basically it is divided into two subjects, English and mathematics. English has reading, which is reading comprehension, and then writing and language is a second section in English, which is basically your grammar and all of that. Then you have the math section. Math section is you writing, there is a math section with calculator and there is a math section without calculator. So there is, like, generally maths is more towards algebra in SAT. Then you have an optional essay, but that is optional. So, like, it's about mostly about reading comprehension. Like, it asks you to read something and it sees how well you can write. And another thing about SAT is the recent most development is that it has gone digital. So there is no pen paper test for international students. You have to go to the center and take a digital SAT. Then the length of SAT is 3 hours without the essay, 3 hours 50 minutes with the essay. So you have a 50-minute time to do the essay. Calculator policy on the math test, it is not for all questions. There are certain questions which you can do with the calculator and certain questions which you have to do without the calculator. The calculator test is longer than the no calculator test. The no calculator test is very, very short. Then you have the essays. Essays are optional. Then coming to ACT, ACT has a scale of 1 to 36. It is a composite score based, and you, for both, you have different kinds of scoring grids and all, which will be shared, or in the coming webinars we'll discuss about. Then ACT structure is also very similar, but it has more subjects: English, math, reading, science. Out of this, English, reading and science, all three of them are very similar, because it's just reading comprehension, and you kind of decipher from the passage and then you give the answer, or it is about grammar. But math is basically more towards geometry, trigonometry side. Unlike SAT is more algebra side. And then you have an optional essay here also. The length is a little less for ACT, like 5-10 minutes here and there, with or without essay, both. So basically both exams have similar kind of time length. And then calculator is allowed on all questions for the ACT. Again and again, essays are optional. So moving on to dates and deadlines, which Veda will discuss.
sorry. I think it's very important for, especially if a student at, in 12th grade right now wants to, write SAT, they have to actually, if I have to, they have to fasten up, start preparing and, fix the date. But for the students who are in 9th grade or 10th grade or 11th grade, I feel like they can just catch up with these dates. As for this year, here are the dates for SAT and ACT throughout the year, respectively. And these dates, if a student is in 11th grade, they can give one in like November, December of 11th grade, and then next year they can give another SAT. Because in SAT, is it just that once if you write the test earlier, you would get to know that what you're lacking at. Because I think at the end of the day, doing a real test is different from doing so many mock tests. It is going to be different at the end of the day. So I think in order for the students who are right now in the 11th and 10th, what we recommend is, try SAT. I think SAT, it's it I think SAT scores can go up to 3 years, if I'm not wrong. So it's fine. You can give it in 10th, and if you get a good marks, you can still submit it to the universities in your 12th grade. That's totally fine. And if you get a good marks in 11th too, same. We can submit it directly in 12th. No need to give it a second chance. But in case if a student is lacking in math or, lacking in English, you can give it a second try in 12th, like maybe at the starting of the 12th grade, like in the March, May, at this month, so that, student can just get this course. And the thing with SAT is that if for example, I have good marks in English, but I don't have good marks in math. So the next time I'm going to attend, like in 12th, if I'm going to attend math, and if I do math good, I can take the marks from this test of math, which I did good, and the marks which I did previously in English, I can just add them and send it to universities. They also take the marks in that way. So the thing, uh, because generally, if you ask us, we totally recommend students giving SAT before their 12th. But if you're in 12th, please sure do go ahead, start preparing, give SAT. But if you're in 11th, yes, start preparing also, because as we said, you will have to build your profile other than SAT. Because if you want to apply to colleges, it's not only the test you're going to give, you also have to build your profile. So you will be busy in 12th, and at the end of the year, you don't want to just panic while doing the application. We don't want it to be messier. So what we recommend is just give your test early as possible. Vishnupriya, please take.
Yeah. So coming to the application rounds, when you go through the application process, there are certain types of like certain application rounds that you have or you can choose to apply in, depending on how prepared you are to apply or to get in. So the first one I want to talk about is early decision or early action. So US universities, they usually call the most common time of application as fall time. Okay, so that is basically between your November of this year. Say if you are in 12th grade right now, then you would be applying between August to December, August to January, February, and then you get your result in March, April, something like that. So the first thing I want to say is there are 4 rounds in total. So starting with the early rounds, early action and early decision. Both of these rounds are done before, as in before the actual application round. You send in your application early if you're prepared. And what happens is that this is around the time of November, October, November, that kind of time period. And when you send in for early action, you can apply to many colleges and you can just say, hey, I'm prepared, I want to get into this college, and then they do your, like, they take the decision, and then this, when they send you, it is not binding. For early action, it is The PPT is wrong, I'm sorry, but for early action, it is not binding. That means if you get an offer of acceptance, if they say you can get into this university, it is your choice whether you want to get in or you want to wait until later and decide after the next round or something. But if you do early decision, then your decision is binding. That means if the university says, hey, you're accepted, then you have to enroll there only. You cannot go anywhere else. That's why for early decision, it should be typically it should be the university of your dreams. Say you really want to go to XYZ university, like really want to go there, you've been dreaming about it. That is the place you'll apply to if you go as an early decision applicant. And if you get in, then you get to go there. Simple. You don't get to, like, you don't change it anywhere else. Like, you can't delay it or you can't look at other options. That is your top one university. And then coming to regular decision, that is usually during the normal time, like the regular period of applying. And there you can apply to multiple universities. The decision is non-binding. Wherever you get in, if you get in into multiple universities, you can accept one and then reject the rest of them depending on your wish or how much financial aid you're getting. I'll come to financial aid also. Then the last kind of round is rolling, where you just send in application, and then the university takes in applications from everywhere and then decides, like, takes decision on the spot. Like, as the application comes in, they review it and then they give out the decision. Because for the other three, there is a specific decision date. Say I apply early decision or early action. That means what I do is by November 15th or something, my application should be sent to the university. And then in December or something, I receive on a specific date. They say early December, like first week of December, mid December, last week of December. This is the kind of dates they give. That means on a specific date your application will come out. But with rolling application, like rolling, you don't have a specific date. As the applications come in, they give you the decisions. That is how these rounds go on. And talking about financial aid, it is a very long subject to talk about, but there are certain scholarships, or you can ask for aid from universities, and universities can give aid in terms of scholarships, grants, loans, or as job opportunities. So you work on the campus and then whatever money comes out, that you pay as fee. So there are many ways, and we'll try and cover that in the next webinar because it is a long topic. But financial aid is going to be there. Like, to study in US universities, because the cost is very high, there are certain applications and then there are certain ways of going through the entire financial aid process. And then moving on to the next part, Veda will take it over.
So right now, let me just sum up of what we have done. We've talked about how to select a university and what a student needs in order to apply to a university, because each and every student need to meet up to certain standard in order to go to universities and abroad. Especially Ivy Leagues, if I talk about. And then we have talked about standardized tests, and then we have talked about how the application process kind of goes. And what I'm going to cover right now is about after a student gets his or her acceptance letter. So, for example, I've applied to a university and they accept me, right? So as a student, if I want to go to that university, I will have to send depends on the university, I have to send them a mail saying I am attending the university fall or winter, you know, according to which you have applied. So after confirming your student attendee letter, there is something called I-20, what colleges give. I'll talk about what an I-20 is, but what this I-20 will be mailed to the student, and then with the I-20, the student can apply for the visa. So that is how the process goes. And after applying for visa, obviously, if somebody is going to US, for example, we have to go to the certain website which has by the US government, and then according to the slots we have to book our appointment. So the I-20, okay, I-20 is generally all about a college issuing a student on certain paperwork. And this paperwork sometimes can be, most of the time, it is about parents' financial status, and if like student background, and if a student is taking a bank loan, it's this I-20 is going to contain about all those necessary documents, passport, and what a English proficiency test, IELTS or TOEFL, all this document, with I-20, if a student have, they can apply to visa. So when you're applying to visa, it's very important that a student has these certain documents saying, one of it being, first of all, we have to pay for the visa, and a student has to give the passport, and acceptance letter is also very important. And if a student is getting a financial aid from the university, that's also very important. Their certification, bank statement, and the many paperwork, as we have discussed right now, which would be needed for a student to apply to visa or to get accepted, comparing to other visas. And if there are any questions, we're ready to answer, or if there are any doubts, we are ready to go over those topics. So please just let us know in the chat box.
There is a chat box, and there is also a Q&A place where you can type your questions, and we'll try our best to answer them. If not, there are other ways also, and we'll be answering answering your questions in upcoming webinars also.
I think one thing we can also mention is that when it comes to visa can be a really stressful process, because there's a lot of documentation, and if we have to like mention it, and parents have to really look after it, because when a student is generally applying for a scholarship to a university, then the university, sometimes if it is a full ride scholarship the student is aiming for, the student have to submit his or her parents a financial statement in past 3 months, which we have to take from bank and send it, and sometimes which might be complicated, which we are here to help for. So for visa appointment, a student need to bring these documents called I-20, which will be given from the university. Again, as Vishnupriya mentioned, we generally, because the possibility is very less for a student to go into a university, we generally apply to a lot of university. We apply to a lot of universities so that at least one or two of them we get accepted. But when you're applying for visa, you can only take one university's acceptance letter or I-20. Just because you want to go to, your options are open for two different universities, you can't take both. So it's very important, once you get the acceptance letter, it's very important for a student to just choose one and take the I-20 and go with, the acceptance letter, bank statement if the student is taking a loan, a student loan, and a certificate of finance document of the parent, passport, receipt of the fee paid, and additional support documents which are necessary sometimes, which will be mentioned, so we don't have to worry. And I think we have a question in the chat box. If we were going to take the MEC group, what's the next opportunity for abroad study? Okay, I think something we would want to mention here is, in India, it's, our 11th and 12th matters for us to go to the next step of studying, like doing undergraduation, but that's not the case in US or most of the abroad. Because in US, if I have to talk about, their 11th and 12th will also come under high school. So it doesn't matter right now as an Indian student, if I'm going to US, it doesn't matter what subject I used to study. As far as my marks are concerned, it doesn't matter. For example, I'm a bio student. If I'm interested in, becoming a business analyst, I want to take computed mathematics. It's fine, I can take it. Just because I'm a bio student doesn't mean they won't let me study. So whatever you are studying right now doesn't matter, as far as you know what you want to do in future. And especially if it is US colleges, you will have 4 years. So the first year you are free to, you know uh, change change your stream if you feel like this isn't fit for you. But if you're aiming for UK, that's not the case, because in UK the undergraduation program is 3 years for most of the courses. So it's like you're directly jumping into the subject. There's no going back on that.
I think whether there's another question you can answer.
One question, let me try answering.
Sure.
They were asking about psychology course, in 11th and 12th. Until last year, we have not offered psychology as a subject, even though we have a person who is handling psychology. And but I think there are many parents are asking about this subject. Maybe this year we may offer, but until last year we have not offered. So all that I request this parent to walk in along with the child, and based on the understanding of the career options of the child, maybe we can look at offering the psychology subject as well. Yeah, the other question, one of you can answer, please.
Sure.
I'll do. So the question is, how do extracurricular activities help a student in US universities? Like I discussed before, US universities have a holistic process or an all-rounder process. Like they require an all-rounder applicant. So they want someone who is good at academics, but also is good outside of academics in any way, in sports or in something else. You don't have to be good at everything, but they say that you should do something outside of academics also. So if you want to go to US universities, when you actually go there, apart from apart from your academics, they also look at what kind of activities you are going to do in the universities. They see how much you are going to move out and put your step forward and do certain kinds of club, be part of clubs or some activities, organizations, lead in the student government, different things. For that, these extracurricular activities right now which you do are important. They build up your profile, they build up the applicant also. I have always heard this mantra from my mentors that before profile building comes personal building. So when you do these activities, the first thing you're doing is you're building up yourself. Right now, us doing this webinar, it is also a part of us building our personality as well as profile. Because personality wise, we are becoming more confident and we are able to answer your questions. We are going out more, experiencing this thing. And then profile wise, I can just say that I've been doing webinars for my school like this. That is what I can write on my resume. So it helps you build up your resume and then it helps you build up yourself, both of which are required for US university or for any university in general, not just US universities. But during the application process, they look at it a lot more than any other um, continent or like any other university outside, like UK or India or any other place. US universities are generally more focused upon what you do outside of academics as well. They look at your academics, but they look at what is happening outside as well. I hope that answered your question.
I think if I have to add in, we'll sure have another webinar answering this subject very clearly. But if I have to, make it even more simpler, I would say a college doesn't need students who are going to fill their class or give them money. But I think colleges, mostly in abroad or US, they want students who are going to bring the change, make a difference. Again, necessarily doesn't have to be something very normal, or what you do, like planting trees or going, go green. It doesn't have to be about it. It can be something which, personally interest you. The thing is, I think every topic when we talked about profile building, everything is connected to each other, because when you write an essay about yourself, you can talk about one of the activity being, like, for example, I can just talk about the birds at my house. Like, they're very different type of birds I see. That will bring a different side of me to a university. So I'm going to become a special student for them. It would be like, okay, this student is adding a value to my university. They might bring a change. That is what a university generally looks for. But if I have to break down their different characteristics for each and every activity, because some activity might show your leadership skills, but some activities might show your love or passion for whatever you do. For example, as I said, birds, it for the nature. And for some activities, it might show how empathetic you are. Some activities like building something might show how creative you are in what you do. So I think each and every activity brings out a quality and shows it to university that I am capable of being in your university and taking those valuable lessons.
Any other questions? If there are no more questions, then we will conclude this meeting. But if there are, then you have other ways to reach out to us through the phone numbers we have put here, or through our website, or through the email. You can write to us specifically asking these questions, or have for any other queries for Rockwoods International School, and we'll try our best to answer them. And the school management will definitely try to help you in all ways possible.
Thank you.